Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another tier list. However, this time we are only going to be doing legendary cards compared to doing every single card. It's been about 9 months since I've ranked only legendaries, so we're gonna do that this time. Oh, and also, if you're new here, then be sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. All right, let's start. So first up on our tier list, we got ourselves the Ram Rider. If you ask me, the Ram Rider is one of the better legendaries in the entire game. She is incredibly hard to stop, especially if you don't have anything that can knock back or anything that can pull like a building. She does tons of damage. Her snare is pretty good on defense as well. I'm gonna put the Ram Rider into the A tier. I think that's where she belongs. Next up, we have the Magic Archer. In terms of potential for a card, Magic Archer has potential to be one of the best cards in the entire game, but sadly, it doesn't meet that potential. That's primarily because the Magic Archer is a card that really does take time and a lot of skill to master, because it doesn't really do a lot of damage. It doesn't have that much health, but with proper positioning and with proper strategy, the Magic Archer is absolutely insane. But because a lot of people don't realize that potential, we're gonna put the Magic Archer still in the A tier. Next up, we have the Fisherman. Now, the Fisherman is pretty funny. It is one of the buggiest cards in Clash Royale. There are so many glitches and bugs you can do with the Fisherman. It's absolutely insane. Clash Royale hasn't fixed any of them. But even, disregarding that, the Fisherman is a pretty solid legendary. Its hook mechanic is very unique, something really only shared by the Tornado. It can just pull cards around the map at will. It's really nice for dealing with tanks and things like hog riders. You can pull it to the King Tower. I'm gonna put the Fisherman at the B tier. I think he's solid, but not worthy of the A tier. Next up, we have everyone's favorite card, the Miner.
Hey, you over there. Guess what?
What?
Nerf Miner.
So for the Miner, I genuinely believe that he is one of the best cards in Clash Royale in the S tier. But do I think he deserves to get nerfed?
No.
Just because you're one of the best cards in the game doesn't necessarily mean that you deserve to be nerfed. The Miner is really only good when paired with other win conditions in a deck. You put it in like a Mega Knight bait deck with like a Skeleton Barrel, it's good there. You pair it with a Lava Hound, it's good in that. You pair it with a Giant, it's good in that situation. But really, Miner on its own as its only damage dealer in a deck, it is okay, but it isn't really that great. Like, Miner Cycle is a thing, but it really is only truly maximized when it is paired with another win condition. So with the Miner really only being a complementary piece, I don't think it deserves to be nerfed, to be completely honest, but I do think it deserves to be in the S tier, as it is one of the best legendaries in the game. Next up, we have the Ice Wizard, and the Ice Wizard is a solid B tier if you ask me. If they didn't rework it so that way it had its spawn damage thing, I would have put the Ice Wizard in the C tier, because when they nerfed it a long time ago, actually now, to the point where it died to Fireball, that kind of destroyed the majority of the viability that it had. But adding this little feature back to it where it does spawn damage, now it helps it out a little bit, and it's actually a fairly useful feature. The Wizard doesn't really compete that well, but it's still a B tier card. It's solid. Next up, we have the Bandit, and like the Fisherman, the Bandit is a super buggy card. It's hilarious actually. But the Bandit is going to be our second card in the S tier, and I'm actually going to put it in front of the Miner because I think it is better than the Miner. For 3 elixir, the value that the Bandit provides is absolutely insane. Its dash is one of my favorite abilities in the game. It can do so much damage. It's a very solid card on defense, and it's a very solid card on offense, especially counter pushing as well, especially counter pushing. It's really solid in that regard. Bandit for 3 elixir, you can't pass up on it. It's an S tier card. Next up, we have everyone's favorite card, the Mega Knight. I know all of you love the Mega Knight. I know it's everyone's favorite card, right?
No.
But in reality, the Mega Knight is definitely one of the better legendaries in Clash Royale. I don't think it's deserving of the S tier, but I think it is deserving of being at the top of A tier. It is an incredible card on defense. It can wipe out an entire push, especially if your opponent bunches up their troops. Do not do that if your opponent is playing Mega Knight. And it's really good on counter pushing as well. Like, you'll normally see a lot of decks together with Mega Knight, Ram Rider, and Bandit. That is a push that is incredibly hard to stop. And the Mega Knight is just a really solid card. Spawn damage is great. Jump damage is great. Normal damage is great. Mega Knight is definitely at the top of the A tier card. Next up, we have the Night Witch. The Night Witch is my favorite card in the entire game. Not just my favorite legendary, but my favorite card. And the reason I was kind of cringing when saying her name is because she's gonna be our first legendary put into the C tier, man. Ever since they took away her death spawn bats, she just really hasn't been the same. That was arguably the best part of the Night Witch, the fact that she spawned 4 bats when she died. And now she doesn't do that anymore, which kind of hinders her value. She is still a pretty valuable card behind tanks like giants and golems because her bats, when she is alive, they can still do a lot of damage, but she just isn't as good as she was, and it hurts me to put her in the C tier, but I think that's where she belongs. Next up, we have the Lumberjack, arguably the most fun legendary to play in Clash Royale. Lumberjack, balloon at the bridge, tower, gone. It's super fun, super toxic. I don't care. I'm gonna put the Lumberjack at the top of the B tier ahead of the Fisherman. It is not the best legendary by any stretch of the imagination, but like I said, it's super fun. Its rage can provide so much value. It has a super fast hit speed. It can survive most spells actually, and it works as a pretty solid card in a decent bit of decks. Then we have the Princess. She is another one that she's not the best, but she's fun to play, and she's definitely solid. I'm gonna put her ahead of the Ice Wizard and beneath the Fisherman into the B tier. She's really only good in decks that, you know, are bait decks, you know, decks that use like a Goblin Barrel, Goblin Gang, Dart Goblin, cards that die to log in arrows. She's really only good in decks like that. But even though she's only good in bait decks, she is still pretty good in her role in bait decks. Next up, we have the Electro Wizard. In my opinion, it is the best card in the game that no one talks about. To me, the Electro Wizard is the LeBron James of Clash Royale. For those of you that know basketball, you'll understand this analogy, but LeBron has been so good in the NBA for so long that it's just like people seem to forget about his greatness. And that's kind of like the case with the Electro Wizard. He's been so good in Clash Royale for so long, people just kind of forget how good of a card he is. But he legitimately is one of the best legendaries and one of the best cards in the entire game. Next up, we have the Lava Hound, the only air tank in the entire game. And because she is the only air tank, she's an incredibly valuable card and really good. To be honest, I don't know why more people don't play Lava Hound. She is genuinely one of the best legendaries in the entire game. The strength of Lava Loon alone makes her one of the best legendaries in the entire game. But you also got Lava Miner, you got Lava Cycle, which is the thing. Lava Hound is very low skill, very easy to play, and it's very good. I don't know why more people don't play Lava Hound. All right, now we have the Graveyard. The Graveyard has kind of had its ups and downs recently, but I still think the Graveyard is a pretty reliable and solid win condition. I'm gonna put the Graveyard kind of at the bottom of the A tier behind the Magic Archer. That doesn't mean that it's bad or anything. Like I said, it's a very reliable win condition, decent win rates. You can build a really solid deck around Graveyard, especially Giant Graveyard. That's popular now for some reason. It's really good, not just Giant Graveyard, but like, you know, just Splash Yard in general, or P.E.K.K.A. Graveyard, things like that. Graveyard's a really solid card. It's really fun to play as well. Next up, we have the card in Clash Royale with the most drip, the Inferno Dragon. One of the better legendaries in the entire game as well. I'm putting it ahead of the Magic Archer and the Graveyard. It's very solid at what it does. Its primary role is being a tank killer. With its ability to heat up and do a lot of damage really quick, the Inferno Dragon is incredibly solid at being a tank killer. It's also good as a supporting card behind things like a Lava Hound and a Mega Knight in terms of counter pushing. Inferno Dragon is great, and he's got drip, which is a bonus. Then we got the Sparky, whose nickname is Trash Can on Wheels, and she's not totally trash, but in my opinion, she is the worst legendary in the entire game. So we're gonna put her at the bottom of C tier. Now, that's not saying she's a bad card. Sparky is mid, which isn't bad. She's solid in some decks, like Goblin Giant Sparky. That's really about it. She does a lot of damage, but she's also relatively easy to counter, depending on what you're playing. So yeah, C tier. Then we got the Royal Ghost. The Royal Ghost might be my surprise placement of this video, but I am putting the Royal Ghost at the very top of A tier. The Royal Ghost over the past few months has kind of snuck its way into like every single archetype in Clash Royale, and it's really good in like every single deck that you frequently see it in. It provides a lot of value for 3 elixir. It can go invis, which is an incredibly unique ability only shared by the Archer Queen. It does splash damage. It survives a lot of spells. It can hover across the bridge. I mean, the Royal Ghost is a really solid card, actually. Next up, we got the Mama Witch. She is going to be the only other card that we put into the C tier, but she is going to be at the top of C tier. Now, this doesn't mean that the Mother Witch is bad. Again, like the other cards in the C tier, she still has her place in Clash Royale. She's very good against swarm cards, especially. Like being able to turn cards into pigs quickly is extremely valuable and can be extremely painful to people that play decks that have a lot of swarm, or decks that have Graveyard as well. But when they nerfed her HP, so that way she like dies to arrows and zap, like she doesn't have much HP. It's like similar to that of a Magic Archer. She's just not as good anymore. She's still decent, but just not great. And then the last legendary that we have for this video is going to be the log. And the log is going to be at the top of S tier as the best legendary in the entire game. You cannot go wrong with a log. Like literally, there's no way you can go wrong with putting a log in your deck. It's only 2 elixir. It does damage. It's a good cycle card. It knocks things back. It takes care of swarms super easy. I mean, the log is just that guy. It is just that good of a card. So here is the full legendary tier list in Clash Royale. None of the legendaries are in the D and the F tier, and that is genuinely how I feel. I think every legendary in the game has a spot in the meta, and I don't think any of them are truly bad, which is good. That's how it should be, I think. But that is going to be it for this Clash Royale tier list. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And as I said earlier, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, then please be sure to subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. But anyway, gamers, it's your boy SolarFury signing off. Peace out, guys. Have a nice day.